Welcome to the Productivity Podcast. Today we're joined by Ron Thurston, author of Retail Pride and host of the upcoming Retail in America tour. Hi Ron, how you doing?
Great, Simon. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your show.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you getting up early, drinking copious amounts of coffee, because I know you're New York time and we're recording this kind of midday-ish UK time, so I appreciate you making the effort.
All good. Retail is a global conversation. So I have done things in all different times of the day and night just to talk about retail, which is my love.
Good. So let's start the chat then. So let's find out a bit more about you, Ron. Tell us about your career. Tell us about the book, and also tell us about what sounds like it's going to be an amazing journey, this upcoming Retail in America tour.
Yeah, thanks so much, Simon. So yes, I am a longtime retailer from the last kind of 3 decades, from sales associates to store leadership to multi-store leadership. I had some time spent in kind of corporate visual merchandising for Gap many years ago, but I have a true love of stores and wanted to spend my time with some really great brands. So I've led retail teams for brands like Apple. I started the brand called West Elm, which I don't think has expanded globally, but is an important furniture company as part of the Williams-Sonoma family. I ran North and South America for Saint Laurent, based out of Paris, and most recently, the vice president of stores for Intermix, also a US-based women's multi-brand luxury retailer. But most importantly, it's really been about all the people that work in this incredible industry and the hard work that they put into it. So I wrote a book that came out at the end of 2020 called Retail Pride, The Guide to Celebrating Your Accidental Career, with the intent to truly celebrate and recognize these millions of people, this enormous kind of influence that they have on the economy, on jobs. In the US, 1 out of 4 people in this country work in retail in some capacity, whether that's in corporate roles, distribution, stores, all of it. It's a gigantic machine that is not often perceived as a great career, and can be thought of as a backup plan, or that, did you really plan to work in retail? And so many people do. And so I wanted to write a book for them and recognize the fact that maybe it was accidental, but they're really proud to work in the industry. And the careers are endless. It's an industry that's open to all to work. That is, the success is often only as much as the hard work you want to put into it, and the jobs that you choose and the companies you choose to work for. And so it's a wide open space that needs to be celebrated. And so the last part of your question, so in about a month or so in April, I will be leaving New York City and going on tour for a year. Some of it is, bringing Retail Pride to life and having conversations with these people all over the country. I will have a podcast called Retail in America. There will be live streaming and events, and there will be kind of a 20-city tour of what this means to celebrate retail in America. And I could not be more excited about it.
Sounds amazing. We'll put links to the book and the YouTube channel podcast as that comes live. Sounds like it's going to be an amazing trip, especially in an Airstream trailer. I think they're really cool.
It's and the Airstream will just add that much more, kind of fun and visual interest to the whole thing. But it's definitely a whole new way of life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting because you talked about the accidental career, and for me, I absolutely fell into retail as 16-year-old, working on a till in a DIY shop, working up through the management training program, running stores, going to work in corporate. And yeah, like you said, did I plan it? No, I started working there. Money was good. The harder you worked, the more you earn. You could get on really quickly. No 2 days were the same, because every customer's different, throw you different challenges, corporate throw you different challenges. So if you're inquisitive, you kind of semi-good with people, I think you can get on really quickly, and no 2 days are the same. So it's certainly not like, working on a car production line car door comes down, screw the handle on. Next car door comes down, screw the handle on. There's no, there's some boring stuff and some gritty stuff to do, but it's very, very challenging physically in some environments, but certainly mentally with people, process, and just the diversity of things that just fly at you every day.
It's true. And I think that there's such joy in some of that. You're right. The difference that every day is different and unique. I think where people often get hung up is that they don't appreciate all the different skills you learn while you're doing that. And so when I'm in conversation with people who are kind of sales, assistant store managers, I really challenge them to sit back and be able to articulate the fact that you run a multi-million-dollar business, you understand customer experience and how to create a customer experience, you work on a team, you learn merchandising, whether that's in fashion, home, pharmacy, you're learning visual merchandising, you're learning back of house operations, loss prevention, cash management. And when you say things like that, it's almost like they never really thought about it in terms of all the different skills that you need to be successful in this business and how to articulate that in a way that helps them grow their careers. So I love the conversation of like, let's just talk about how fun this is, but also how hard you work and all the skills that you've learned.
Yeah, I just wrote some down while you were talking there. I had some on your list. So I had counselor, coach, finance, friend, foe, team player, merchandise and IT, lost stock. And then at the end, I wrote resilience, because I think that's probably one of the things I learned quite quickly is you've got to be resilient, because you may have the best plan in the world, but boy, something's going to come and sideswipe you that you've just not even thought about.
It's true. It's really true. And that's part of the experience then is, you know what, I've done this before, but it's so often self-taught. And that's the other piece of this industry that I think is so fascinating, is that there's not one particular college experience or degree that's going to make you a great retail leader. Is that you're really only as good as the hard work you put in, as you mentioned earlier, but we're so self-taught. And the companies that we work for are often whatever they provide is what we learn. And that another challenge that I'm often throwing out is, learning how to be a student of the industry first, not just of your company, and understand all the technology that's happening, all the way culture is evolved in certain parts of the industry, the way new ideas and new brands and new leadership, all of it. Don't just settle for what your current employer is teaching you, to truly be a student, because that actually, it makes you a better candidate. It makes you a better leader. And to kind of pick your head up and look around and say, well, what's really happening today that maybe my company's using, tools my company's using, and maybe not. And again, that's one of those challenges that I throw out to retail teams. And that can be really inspiring because we're often kind of just a result and output of the current brand. And I've fallen into the same trap, and now want to really think about the industry in new and exciting ways.
And it's interesting. It kind of leads us on to some of the debate really around, since my time in stores, technology's moved on massively. There's lots of investment from all the big and small retailers in technology to make maybe colleagues' lives easier. Sometimes I think it makes it harder. To make customers' lives easier. Again, sometimes I think it may make it harder. But there's this balance of kind of people and tech living in harmony. And do you invest in strengthening the people? Do you invest in the best technology? What are your thoughts on kind of finding that real sweet spot in good people, great service, and how does tech live within that world and not take over it?
So I think about the industry, I think the best version of retail is incredibly human-centric. And so it's always that investment in people first, but being incredibly then technology enabled. And so the customer experience components within retail today have to be also very tech enabled, because you could have an incredible kind of selling experience, you're educating customers, you are talking about your brand, talking about your product. Maybe you work in fashion like I have most of my career, and you're talking about styling and trend and all of that. But then the reality sets in of, okay, I need a great POS system, preferably mobile, preferably that works effortlessly with the tap of my watch. I need great ways to be able for that product to be received. So if it's currently in store, what is that process to bring it to the sales floor? If it's not in store, what is the technology that gets it to the customer's home as quickly as possible? What are the rest of the components of the experience that are tech enabled to make the human experience that much better? And that's often where it falls apart. Is you hire great people and they're energetic and they're excited, but the customer experience is diminished because of the lack of technology. And some of the other, like, Wi-Fi available to customers. It sounds very simple, but at least I can speak for the US, it's not available in most stores, kind of customer Wi-Fi. Or, how does live inventory live on your website? So customers today expect that you look at your website, you see things that you may want to purchase, but you also see, oh, great, it's available in my local store. I'm going to reserve online, pick up in store. And then the technology enables that to happen. But if the customer's on the website, they can't tell where the product is. They therefore expect it to be in the store. There's this whole loop of inventory that is so technology enabled. And then the last piece that I think is actually the most exciting thing happening in retail technology is on the people side. So how do we use technology to hire? How do we, whether it's video based, it's QR code job applications, it's using a retail workforce on demand to fill open spots or to add some additional people on a busy Saturday when the sun is shining. There's all this great kind of enabling retail for the best experience possible that's happening. And that, I think, is, it's the way we have to think about the future of this industry, is very human centric, but all of these tools enable the human experience to move the business forward. And they certainly, they come with a price, but that better experience results in improved economic numbers that are, I think, the way we're going to think about this business going forward.
And yeah, I agree totally on some of those points. And yeah, the UK is no better in terms of Wi-Fi being offered by retailers. To some of it doesn't work. Some of it, clearly, if a number of people log on, it's so slow that you revert back to your mobile signal.
Yeah.
So cost of labour is going up. I mean, it certainly is in the UK, astronomically really difficult to recruit. So are we going to kind of end up having to trade things off? So maybe we end up in a world where there's less people in our retail stores, probably paid more, hopefully better trained, hopefully they stay longer, so that helps with retention, better product knowledge. But is then that trade-off of, we may see more things like RFID payment, so you drop your clothes in a box, it knows that everything's got the own RFID code on, and it comes up and says, tap the card to pay. So we trade off some service points for others because of some of the kind of economic challenges.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's absolutely true, Simon. I think that's where we can eliminate the need for that labor, is exactly then put that cost back on to the experience side. So in that kind of RFID world, the customer understands to self-checkout, the tap to pay, the easy things that don't require someone kind of standing there and helping you do it, but instead really do love a fitting room experience that is about styling. They really enjoy just the engagement or the education that comes with, maybe it's something that they don't understand how to use it, but if there's no one there to explain it, then you don't convert the sale, and then none of it matters. So I say put all of even the higher cost, put all of that effort onto the front of house, the sales floor, with highly engaged, excited, well-trained people, and let the technology and some of the back of house systems take care of themselves. So I agree with you that I think we often thought of it as the cost of doing business, and all of that labor cost was spread across the entire store. And I actually think you can do it with less people and more technology, but the fewer numbers are exactly right. Better trained, highly engaged, well led, that are also technology savvy, who can make it all come to life. I think a very interesting conversation about the future of this industry.
And that hopefully means that colleagues feel more valued, because clearly their remuneration's better. If we're expecting them to have better product knowledge, the training's got to be better. But also, I think you touched on it there, there's things they're going to need to be equipped with just from a functional point of view. So it might be a smartwatch to authorize the payment at the till to save me walking there. It might be I need a tablet to access the inventory on demand or order from a customer. Maybe I have to wear a headset because there's less colleagues, so we keep in touch in different ways to reduce walking, or while we're kind of manning our zone or area. So there's wider considerations for retailers in my mind about what does the colleague of the future look like from a recruitment point of view, skills, retention, like you said, maybe more IT savvy. But in return, what as a retailer and an employer do I need to offer them to be able to do a great job, which in turn gives a great experience?
Absolutely agree. We've heard it so much in the last couple of years around the Great Resignation, and that's not a U.S. situation, I know. And the idea that any kind of service industry and restaurant, retail, everything is really, people have thinking twice now about how do I want to spend my time and what are those roles. So in a world where everyone is hiring, the brands that really rise to the occasion are exactly those. And you become that employer of choice by offering both the training and development and career opportunities and the best version of technology, and with a culture that is about support and thinking in a kind of a future thought way. And if those brands are coming forward, they don't have a hiring problem. It's others that are really challenged to find the right people that are kind of expecting them to do more for less in an environment that has been really difficult. As we know, the last couple of years, we don't need to expand on that. We know it's hard, but it's frontline work that could lead to incredible careers done well.
And I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's all the softer benefits. So clearly, how much people get paid, remunerated, is really important to them, but not necessarily for lots of people a driving factor. Retail have a difficult challenge because, we've got tech companies now where they can work from home forever. They're giving unlimited holidays in some of the kind of smaller or kind of trendier startups. That's really difficult when you're in a direct customer-facing environment to introduce some of those things.
Mm-hmm. It is. So you need to then balance that. If I can't offer that to the store team, what other things are important to them? So that kind of takes me often down this road of spending more time in stores and having coffee chats and listening and learning and asking questions and then acting on it, because store teams do want different things often than someone who's grown up just in the corporate office. They can't close the store for a week and all go on holiday like you can in the office, but they may want additional training. They may want other perks that go along with it. They may ways to celebrate their customers are often the first thing that I would hear of. I'd like to do more for my customers. I'd like to be able to give them the newest arrivals and have early access to things. I mean, the list goes on. So I think sometimes we think of organizations or culture as being one size fits all, and that it's not been my experience. Is that each each population of that company requires almost a different, a unique culture to their work experience, and where you can make that happen. So there's kind of an overarching, this is what we stand for as a company, but within our retail organization, this is what we prioritize. And I think that's an absolute natural way to think about the future here.
Yeah, and it comes back to some of the points you touched around before in terms of flexible workforce, working on demand. We talked a lot kind of pre-pandemic in the UK about a gig economy, and I'm not really sure it ever came to fruition, but maybe is in a store environment, I might want to buy an extra week's holiday or sell a week's holiday, because those are kind of currencies I can trade in, recognize a colleague, so find a way of being able to, offer vouchers to them or incentivize them, as well as, you say, special incentives for customers or secret offers. So, I totally agree. It's about not that one size fits all. What might work in corporate might not work in stores. And if you're a multinational brand, what works in one country in stores may not translate to others.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly right. And some of that gig economy conversation for me is very interesting. So I'm on an advisory board with a company called Reflex Careers, who is trying to build this, and that other brands have tried, companies, startups have tried to do this. But it's really difficult because, at least in the US, every state has different labor laws. Even within that state, different cities have different labor laws. So you have to build something that is very unique to that store in that city based on the demand. So they're in pilot. This company is in Texas today with a number of brands. And so this idea of, I have work available and I need the best version of retail employees to kind of pick up some of these shifts or pick up some of this, back of house increased workload that we talked about earlier. Maybe there's a high demand for fulfilling web orders from stores. Great, I'm going to request and have 3 more people work for the next 3 days via an app. And in retail, that's never been available. And so I very much believe that this is how we will think about the future of this kind of smaller, highly skilled, highly paid team that is fulfilled with great technology and then supplemented with an on-demand workforce. That is, for me, exactly how we can think about great retail.
Yeah, and in the UK, we've seen, again, people try to have a number of colleagues working on more flexible patterns and maybe across different brands. So that whole dipping in and out piece, we're starting to see much more of a trend of people wanting more secured hours. Costs are rising. People want more of a secured income. So in the UK, I think there's a bit of a struggle at the moment of, do I have a bigger pool of people on lower hours per week? Because in the UK, we have to guarantee those hours legally. You give me a contract for 8 and I don't work it unless you have to give me 8 hours or pay me for them unless I'm off sick or on holiday. We're seeing much more of a drive towards people saying, actually, that doesn't work for me. I need 30 hours to pay for my lifestyle, rent, costs, car, etc. So we're in a state of flux, I'd say, with people not being sure of, do they want to work for 2 or 3 companies on less hours, or actually do they want the security of going to one place for higher hours? It's still to play out, I think.
Still to play out. And I think that's true of a lot of different industries. But I think some of the people that want that more flexible could be students or parents whose kids have been home and then they're back in school and then they're home again and they need flexible work. I think there's a wide range of different people, and that's, again, kind of the beauty of retail, is being open to all, is saying we want flexible work, we want permanent work, we want just on the weekends work, we want different versions of it. We want things that are tech. We want things that are very simple. We want it to be a pop-up. We want it to be a long-term. Like, the list goes on of all the different kinds of people and business models and technology that can come together in unique ways, and how the industry is evolving and kind of pulling different levers depending on how the business wants to operate. It's actually in the UK, this pop-up business called Souk, if you've heard about this. So they're building a retail pop-up model that can be as short as an hour. And so they have spaces around London where you can rent the space for an hour, a day, a week, and then you build how you want the store to be set up on their website with kind of the fixtures, what's your vision, and supply the imagery, and then the walls are all LED built. So you could walk in and have all of your branding done, some fixtures set up, whether that's tables and chairs or racks for product, and have a great pop-up model, POS enabled, ready to go for a new business, a new designer, a startup model like Friends, and kind of watching how they're using this business in a way that celebrates retail, but with low investment. I love the model, and hopefully he'll be able to launch in the US too, because it's a really special way to think about this industry, that excitement can come in short bursts of energy with new ideas. It keeps people coming back to stores.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
I think in summary, kind of the takeout for me is there almost are no rules. So, you talked about different groups of people that may want flexible work or more of this kind of gig type work. It's about, I think, retailers thinking broadly, appealing or deciding who their target may be, colleagues of the future are, or appealing to a wide variety, because there's almost no rule book, is there, anymore? You can evolve and create and take it in the direction that you want, but understanding the limitations that may bring or the opportunities you close down.
Yeah, exactly right. And I love that. I love that there's no rules, and that we actually now, kind of post-pandemic, have the opportunity to build things that have never been done before and create exciting new formats to bring people back, to reconnect the world through retail. I think it's a really exciting time.
Amazing. I think that's a good place to pause this chat. Ron, I really appreciate your time and you getting up early. So final question from me is, what's the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
I would reference my grandfather in that, who ran a very large construction company. And his advice to me was always about, you put the people who do the hardest work first in the organization. That this is always about the field, and in his case, it was kind of construction. In my case, it's been retail. That the people doing that work are the most important people in the organization. And I believe that to be, I didn't know it at the time as a young man working in construction, but I certainly know that now and appreciate that advice.
Amazing. Wise words sounds like what was a wise man. So
yes,
yeah, we take that forward. And if people want to get in contact with you, reach out, discuss retail generally, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So retailpride.com. We can talk about the Retail in America tour on there. You'll see the future podcast and YouTube episodes. You can see the book and where to buy it. It's available on Amazon in many countries around the world, and on Instagram at Retail Pride.
Awesome. We'll put some links in there as well in the show notes so people can click through easily.
Great.
Ron,
thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Again, thanks for getting up early for us, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Simon.